Good morning. I'm Eric Gulvey, president of the Biogenerator. I'd like to welcome you here to the Biogenerator on behalf of myself, my organization, and BioSTL, to the Biogenerator Labs, which is an epicenter of St. Louis bioscience innovation, home to nearly 50 companies and over 150 employees working in those startups. Biogenerator invests in and provides many other forms of support to companies throughout the St. Louis region. These labs are part of the Cortex innovation community. One of the areas Biogenerator focuses on is company building, and the Cortex community is a focal point for many companies focused on human health innovation. Cortex is building the real estate environment for these companies to continue their growth, and you'll hear from Cortex's CEO, Dennis Lauer, a little bit later. So we thank you for being here to celebrate an important event for the St. Louis innovation community. What you're about to hear is a success story for one of our local companies, a success for Biogenerator and all of our partners who've been with us on this journey, and most of all, a success for the St. Louis community. And you'll hear about a new partnership with an East Coast company developing and commercializing important new medicines. So we're especially thrilled today to welcome from the Philadelphia area, Neil Walker, President and CEO of the publicly traded company Aclaris Therapeutics. Neil?
Thank you, Eric, and St. Louis for the warm welcome. We've really enjoyed our stay so far. This is indeed a big day for everyone involved. Today, we formally announced that Aclaris has acquired Confluence Life Sciences for $20 million upfront and $80 million in contingent payments and royalties. Aclaris is a dermatologist-led biopharmaceutical company focused on defining new standards of care in both medical and aesthetic dermatology. We started working with the great folks here at Confluence over a year ago and acquired the company based on their outstanding people, platform, and assets. Joe Monahan, Wally Smith, John, and Paul have created a world-class drug research company here in St. Louis. And rather than disrupt the great work that they're doing here, we want to add to it. Joe, Wally, and their 40-member company will become Aclaris team members, but they'll continue their research here in St. Louis. We will also be looking to hire a number of new researchers to fill in their ranks and begin building new lab space in the Cortex Innovation District, just like we're here at the Biogenerator Conference, or lab. Special thanks to the Biogenerator team for helping to grow Confluence Life Sciences, and the talent here in St. Louis is quite impressive. With that, I'd like to hand it off to Joe and Wally.
Thanks.
Well, thanks. This is a proud day for Confluence Life Sciences and a proud day for the St. Louis startup community. 6 years ago, Joe Monahan and the other founders had a vision to build a drug discovery company to create new medicines for diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, and cancer. Confluence Life Sciences had tremendous support from day one from the Biogenerator team, including Charlie Bolton and Eric Gulvey. We're thrilled to be among the first exits from the Biogenerator portfolio, and even happier to be able to continue our work from St. Louis, which was very important to the Confluence team in doing the deal with Aclaris. Biogenerator's early investment allowed us to attract other investors, including the Missouri Technology Corporation, the Helix Fund, and venture capital companies like Mercury Fund based in Houston and Epidarcs Capital from the DC area. Confluence is fortunate to be a tenant of the Biogenerator Accelerator Labs and to work in a collaborative environment with other portfolio companies in a great working space here at Cortex. We'd like to thank the Confluence employees for their dedication and hard work and their important role in bringing new medicines to patients. Finally, we'd like to thank Neil Walker and the Aclaris team for getting to deal closure. This is a win at many levels, including investors, employees, the St. Louis biotech community, but mostly important for patients. Thank you.
So we're very excited that this new relationship between Aclaris and Confluence enables Neil and his team to harness the deep talent resident at Confluence while retaining these individuals in St. Louis. That was really important to us. And as a developing innovation community, St. Louis needs exits for its investors now, and this is a significant example for our region. The investors that have supported Confluence along its journey thus far will receive a return on their invested capital, which in turn enables most of us to redeploy that capital into other local startups. BioGenerator is the investment and company creation arm of BioSTL, which has been building and advancing the local bioscience and innovation community since 2001. Among BioSTL's programs are the work we're doing at BioGenerator, making sure we have strong physical infrastructure like the district we're standing in today, promoting good public policy, attracting a more diverse and inclusive entrepreneurial talent pool, and attracting the presence of international companies through our Global STL initiative. Because of strong public-private partnerships, we've been able to develop St. Louis's bioscience startup community. In fact, St. Louis was recently cited as a model for other cities for the bioscience cluster that BioSTL and its partners have helped to develop. I'd like to thank my colleagues at BioGenerator and BioSTL for what they do every single day to support entrepreneurs and innovative companies in order to improve our economy here in St. Louis. And in particular, I'd like to thank my colleague Charlie Bolton, who was instrumental in conceptualizing and designing these labs, both iterations, and in leading our investments in and continuing to support Confluence Life Sciences. And in the case of Confluence, our partners stepped up in a very big way. The Missouri Technology Corporation was a major investor in Confluence Life Sciences, investing over multiple financing rounds, not to mention their financial assistance in building out this lab facility. And I'd like to recognize Bill Anderson, Executive Director of MTC, who's here today, and Jason Hall, the Chair of MTC, who's also with us. And I'd also like to recognize our friends at the St. Louis County Helix Fund and the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, who helped with early stage funding of Confluence. And I see Rodney Krim, president of SLEDP in the back, and way back outside in the hallway, there she is, Ginger Imster, VP of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the Economic Development Partnership, and I know we have some other EDP team members here today, so I'd like to thank them publicly. Other investors in Confluence included several members of the St. Louis Archangels, an important group that's helped to fund a number of bioscience and tech companies here in the St. Louis region, and external investors outside of St. Louis, the Mercury Fund and Epidarix Capital. And I'd also like to note at a point where Confluence began to grow very rapidly, when we were in the first iteration of these labs, much smaller than the footprint you're standing in today, they were in dire need of office space, and Cortex generously stepped up and offered to provide them space for a significant period of time while we were building out these new labs. That's really the essence of the St. Louis ecosystem, and you're seeing it on full display here today. This room is filled with entrepreneurs and those who support entrepreneurs through mentorship, financial investment, and other forms of assistance. So speaking of Cortex, I'd like to introduce Dennis Lauer, President and CEO of Cortex, who came here back in 2010 and who's been instrumental in transforming the Cortex innovation community and who's helped to raise hundreds of millions of dollars to build out development here and to secure money for future development here in the Cortex district. Dennis?
Thank you. Well, it does take a village, and all of you are testimony to that. When I came here 7 years ago, one of the hallmarks that I quickly understood about St. Louis is that people really pull together, and people are willing to open up their contacts and willing to sit and think with you. It's a Midwestern value, and I think that that's what's elevating our game. At Cortex, we are responsible for building an innovation community of smart and creative people. We do that in two ways. We do that through physical infrastructure and buildings like the one that we're standing in, and we also do it through programs and supporting investment in startup companies within the district. We recognized several years ago that we, like every other city in the world, would like to have established companies. Being in the middle of the country, we realized that we'd have to grow those companies for ourselves. And so we started over 20 years ago in developing an ecosystem that started both simultaneously here at this location as well as in the county at Creve Coeur with the Danforth Plant Science Center and Monsanto out there in the suburbs. And then soon thereafter, we followed with downtown. So we really are a regional ecosystem from downtown to midtown to Creve Coeur. And we all work together to lift and support the ecosystem and to really make St. Louis a national and internationally recognized technology hub. Today is another step toward that objective and toward that goal. So we all can celebrate together. This happens to be here, but we celebrate victories in all of our tech locations throughout the region. Presently, we have under construction a new technology facility, about 181,000 square feet. Many of you know that we announced a short time ago that Microsoft will be establishing a Midwest headquarters here and a Microsoft Technology Center. And we have other companies that we'll be announcing that will be going in there soon as well. Unfortunately, the biggest challenge that I have and keeps me up at night is figuring out how to build a structured parking garage, or 2 or 3 or 4. So I guess that's a blessing and a curse. For me, it's a curse. And actually, for a lot of people standing here, I get calls all the time, when are you going to alleviate the parking problem? So it's a symptom of success and growing pains. And just as Eric indicated in the early years of Confluence, Joe and Wally were housed in our offices because we were still growing ourselves and had extra space. And then as we were able to expand here, they moved upstairs, and the whole team began to evolve. And that's very much the story of St. Louis and our ecosystem. We also have a new transportation program, project that's under construction, which is a light rail station, which will allow us to go from downtown on the east side as well to the airport and stop also in Cortex. So a lot of things are happening. We're also about to break ground later in the fall on a new business hotel. So we're growing the environment that will support the companies that we are celebrating and here today to celebrate with Confluence. I want to particularly thank the Aclaris team and their commitment to us and helping us to take us to another level with this company. So we look forward to working with them as well as our other companies as they continue to grow. My congratulations to everyone who has brought us to this point today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. I couldn't help but reflect late last night as I was thinking about the day today to the events that transpired a number of years ago when Pfizer made the decision and announced that they were closing down their small molecule drug discovery operations here in St. Louis. 800 scientists or so employed at that facility would be out of jobs. And that event, as devastating as it was, catalyzed a lot of events here in the St. Louis region. My colleague Charlie and I were able to come forward to the BioSTL Coalition, talk about the situation, and that led to a lot of activities galvanized by a number of leaders here in the communities, corporations and universities hiring some of that talent coming out of Pfizer. And it also, because of the relationship that Charlie and I had at Pfizer, enabled us to go inside and actually talk to folks at Pfizer before they were out the door. We gave a presentation to a number of individuals who were thinking about moving into the startup community to try to describe what was going on here. And then we had individual meetings with a number of folks who were beginning to gestate new ideas. One of those meetings was with Joe and a group of the early founders at Confluence. And when Charlie and I left that meeting, we knew that this was a team that we had to support, At that point in time, St. Louis wasn't as nearly as evolved in its ecosystem as it is today. But the partners that we talked about earlier today stepped up to help provide early stage financing to get these companies off the ground. And MTC was a critical supporter in providing money that helped build out the first version of this labs, which was absolutely essential to enable BioGenerator to support Confluence in those early days. Today, you see what this lab has developed into with over 50 companies operating out of here. So I just wanted to share that story as yet another example of how St. Louisans come together to help support our community. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for helping to celebrate this milestone and the success for St. Louis. Congratulations to Confluence and Aclaris. Welcome to St. Louis. We're thrilled to have you here. So we'll now open the BioGenerator labs to showcase what Confluence has been doing with its research. Thank you all for attending here today.
I'm going to just point out 3 people I forgot to mention. Standing behind me is Paul Shingalian, Director of Biology, and John Jacobson, Director of Chemistry, 2 people that are very instrumental in moving the drug programs forward. I also like to call out Evan Dick from Aclaris, who was instrumental in starting our first research collaboration and actually went to Neil and said, hey, we should buy these guys. So, so thanks to Evan and his hard work in all this process. That's right.